Welcome, everyone, and thanks for your interest in international business and law. My name is Paul Park. I am the program director for this course, and we have a really exciting agenda lined up for this year where we'll be traveling to Amsterdam and to Brussels to study international business and international business law over the month of July. And I wanted to take this brief opportunity to go over what we're going to be doing in country and what we're going to be studying. But before we jump into that, I wanted to do a quick introduction of myself. This is my 12th year teaching on campus. I teach mostly MBA students at the Anderson School. My focus is on corporate governance, corporate scandals, social entrepreneurship, in addition to the business law and international business courses that I teach. I also work with MBA students on their thesis projects. So we send groups of students all over the world to work with companies and with NGOs on a lot of the organizational challenges and issues that they face. And so currently I have a team that is working in the Galapagos on the illegal shark fishing problem that's happening there and working with an NGO there to try to address that problem. I also have a team in South Africa right now working with another NGO there to try to address societal problems in rural South Africa. So lots of interesting projects that are happening all over the world that we're involved with here at Anderson. The last thing I'll say is that I am a UCLA lifer. I went to business school here as well as law school here, and I'm pushing close to 20 years on campus now. And I think when I die, they'll probably bury me somewhere near Royce Hall. Anyway, on to the courses. So we have two distinct courses. Both are 4 credits each. The first is International Business, and that is a business school style management type of a course. And I'll go into more detail about that. The other is International Business Law. And that course is much more like a law school type of a course. Because I went to both business school and to law school here at UCLA, I'm going to be teaching each of those courses in a very distinct fashion that is reflective of what you can potentially expect in business school or in law school or both. And so hopefully, in addition to some of the content that you'll be able to pick up and the substantive knowledge that you'll be able to pick up, you'll also get a taste of what business school or law school might actually be like if you're interested in either or both of those. Both of those courses are 4 credits each, and both have been approved for upper division credits for business econ majors as well as accounting minors. So at the end of July, you'll have 8 credits toward both of those fields of study. So let's jump in about the courses. So first, let's talk about the international business course. We're going to first go from 10,000 feet down to the firm. So we're first going to be talking about this decades-long trend, a post-World War II trend of globalization, this trend of countries and people in those countries getting closer together, becoming more and more interdependent through trade and with relationships. And we're going to see how over the course of these decades, how the world has grown smaller and the opportunities for business has grown bigger. Obviously, there are lots of risks involved that we've seen recently with respect to pandemics causing havoc on supply chains, or wars in Ukraine or in Israel, causing all sorts of disruptions as well. But overall, the world has been on this trajectory of growing closer with some stumbles here and there. And that has led to a lot more opportunity in business. And so we're going to be studying that as a baseline, and then going down and tracing some differences between countries and opportunities that may be presented in each of those countries based on where they are along the economic development line or the spectrum in terms of how advanced they've become economically. Then we're going to talk about, at the government level, various acts and restrictions and things that governments do to either bolster trade or to restrict trade based on the interests of the governments and the countries. And then lastly, we're going to really kind of dig in at the firm level, at the organizational level, some of the most important topics that are important to businesses that are doing trade and having relationships in multiple countries at the same time. So we're going to be talking about business strategy. We're going to be talking about how a firm enters into a new market and all of the different ways in which you can enter into a new market and the various trade-offs that you have there. We're going to be talking about marketing and sales and how you get to have customers become interested in what you're offering, as well as managing the very complex supply chains that present themselves these days. And so we will be doing this in a business school style of a class where there's going to be a lot of group work. We're going to split up into groups of students that will work on cases that will be turned in and graded, as well as the final project will be a group project. You will have individual grade components, but it's going to be pretty heavily weighted toward group work, because that is how business school is kind of structured, so that it forces students to work with other people and kind of reflects what the real world is like in terms of how companies and teams get projects done and reach their objectives. The next is going to be the international business law course, which is very closely related to international business. So if you're going to be doing business in different countries throughout the world, you are going to be restricted by the laws that govern both the country that you're working in, as well as the laws that govern the relationships between the two countries or the 3 or 5 countries that you're potentially going to be working in at the same time. So it's a very complex web of regulations and cases and authority that we're going to be diving into and trying to make sense of how one gets a contract enforced and how one collects on a judgment if you were to win on a case. And so similar to the business course, we're going to be starting at the 10,000 foot level and talk about the development of international business law. And most of this also has come about post-World War II. After World War II, there's been a big push to try to tie countries' interests together economically so that there wouldn't be another world war. That was the theory, and because countries became closer together, we haven't seen a world war at this point, and there's been a lot of development of international business law because of this need, because of the increase in international trade, of international relationships. And so we're going to be starting at that level, and then we're going to be talking about the EU a little bit. We're going to have a session where we dive into the EU because we will be in the EU countries. We are actually going to be visiting the EU during our course. And so we're going to find out a little bit more about the particulars of doing business in the EU and what that looks like. And then lastly, just like in the international business course, we're going to be going down to the firm level, to the actual operational level of the business, and talking about the issues that are most important for the business. How do you get into contracts and make contracts? And then after, if the contract is breached and someone doesn't perform, how do you enforce a contract? How do you try to become whole if one party hasn't upheld their end of the bargain? Additionally, how do you protect your intellectual property, your contracts or your copyrights, your patents, your trademarks? How do you protect those valuable assets of your firm throughout the world? And then lastly, we're also going to be talking about labor and employment, the various differences across countries of labor laws and your relationships with the staff and the management, as well as employment laws, discrimination laws, and harassment laws, etc., that protect employees. And we're going to find that there's a big variance across countries, across regions in the world on those different types of issues. And so those are the two courses, and we're going to be talking and studying those in the context of being in the EU, specifically Amsterdam and Brussels. And those two locations are key because they are centers of both law as well as international business. So in Amsterdam, we are going to be very close to The Hague. We're going to be taking a day or two, a trip to The Hague, where the International Court of Justice resides, as well as the International Criminal Courts. And we're going to be doing tours of both of those places and seeing where a lot of the most important international cases are being decided in the world. Similarly, when we go to Brussels, we're going to be going to the EU Parliament and doing a visit there and seeing how one of the most, the largest economies in the world manages and creates policies and regulations for governing trade and business activity in that region. And so I think this is going to be a fantastic opportunity to see firsthand some of the most important centers of business and business law in the world. And so I'm really excited about going on this trip because it's going to be the first time for me as well. In addition, we're going to be scheduling a visit to a multinational corporation that resides either in Amsterdam or Brussels. Last year, we went to Paris and we did a visit of Pernod Ricard, which is the second largest company in the world that deals in liquors and wines. And so if you've heard of Avion Tequila or Absolute Vodka or any number of wines, this company did it, and we had a fantastic visit of their headquarters last year. And so this year, we're going to try to do something very similar to that. And then lastly, we're going to do a lot of different cultural visits. You're going to find that after our courses in the morning, we're going to have walking tours of both Amsterdam and Brussels, as well as maybe some other day trips that we plan in the itinerary. And so hopefully you will be able to get a sense of not only some of the important issues on business and business law, but you'll also get a really good idea of and a feel for the cities that we're going to be visiting and some of the real important cultural sites that reside there. So the logistics of the course is going to be, we're going to be arriving in Amsterdam on July 5th. We're going to have a couple of Zoom sessions before then on July 1st and July 3rd. July 5th, we're going to arrive. We're going to have a boat tour riding around in the canals of Amsterdam, so you all can get a preview of the different places that you might want to visit during your stay there, and then a welcome dinner that night. And then we're going to be transitioning over into Brussels about a week and a half, 2 weeks into the trip, and spending the last 10 days or so in Brussels. And we're going to be wrapping it up at the end of July and coming back home after a welcome or a farewell dinner. And so that's the trip in a nutshell. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and hopefully it will pique your interest and to have you join me in the summer.